Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Fall 2022 Hyatt Leadership Talk. My name is Ajo Kennedy. I serve as Associate Chair for Global Engineering, Leadership, and Entrepreneurship, and it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. We're going to have folks coming in also virtually, so if you're online, welcome. And we want you to participate with your questions, put your questions in the chat. Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Guiomar Obregón. She is the CEO and co-founder of Precision 2000, P2K for short, a general contractor providing high-quality products and services in civil infrastructure and transportation-related projects, including airports, military bases, roads, pedestrian paths, crossings, intersections, and sidewalks. The firm specializes in concrete paving and concrete repairs and has become the go-to company for high-strength concrete repairs at Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport. She was born in Boston and raised in Colombia. After earning a degree in civil engineering at the Columbia School of Engineering in Bogota, she completed her MBA, Master of Science in Civil Engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology, and later earned an executive MS in finance from Georgia State University. Guiomar is a founding member of the Georgia Hispanic Construction Association, GHCA for short, and served for 4 years as the first president and chair of the board, building on a legacy of commitment and high quality standards. Because she believes that it is important to develop the next generation of professionals in construction, in 2006, with her husband, Carlos Sanchez, she created a mentorship program for civil engineering students that provides young engineers from Colombia hands-on training to improve their professional skills. Guiomar and Carlos created Precision 2000 Incorporated, the Precision 2000 Incorporated Fellowship at Georgia Tech School of Building Construction in December 2017 and expanded it in 2021. The fellowship provides financial assistance to Colombian engineers pursuing a master's degree. She often speaks to young high school students looking to inspire them to pursue a career in construction. She has received several awards and recognitions. I'll mention 3 of them. The most influential Latinos in Georgia, presented by the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Inspiration Award, Latin American Association, and Women Booming Business, 2017 award winner by the Atlanta Business Chronicle. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to you.
I'm going to be sharing my own journey. I was in your place many years back, came to Georgia Tech, got a degree. So I want to just tell you how I did it. There is no one formula, there is no right or wrong, but I'm going to share from my perspective what worked and what didn't and how I did that. So I'll start where I am today. So I am the owner and co-founder of Precision 2000 or P2K. We have been in business for 25 years next year. What we do, we are a government contractor. So we do construction work of civil infrastructure. Our customers are mainly the government. So we work for the cities, counties, the federal government, military bases, Air Force bases. So a wide variety of customers, but all within the government. We work primarily in the Southeast, mainly Georgia, the Carolinas, but we have gone as far as Texas. And we did some work in Colombia many years back. But right now it's mainly the Southeast. I am the majority owner, so you can see it's women-owned. And with my background, it's Hispanic owned as well. We have about 60 to 90 employees. And there is a range because our work is cyclical. In the winter, of course, we work outside, so it goes down the number of employees or what we can do. And then our peak is the summer and the fall, is where we are
most busy. The markets that we serve is aviation, transportation, like I said, civil infrastructure. And our market niche has been the concrete repairs. So here we see some examples of the work we do. So we have a roundabout. Next, we have some concrete for the PDK runway. We did the replacement of the runway. Next one, some repairs. So concrete repairs, we have been doing concrete repairs on highways and the taxiways and the runways. So it's very specialized work. It uses high strength concrete. There are limitations of time when you can do it. So we work mostly at night to avoid disruption to, to the public. At the airport, while the runways are closed at 11 p.m., we do the repairs, and by 6 a.m., an airplane has to be landing on that same patch that we repaired. So it's very time sensitive. With the cities, we do roads and sidewalks and pedestrian intersections, water, sewer lines. In transportation, we do road realignments, intersections, to improve traffic. We do a lot of work with the Georgia DOT and have worked with South Carolina DOT. Do parking lots as well. Internally, we self-perform all the concrete work and all the earthwork as well, and the utilities. So how do you go from where you are now? You have a great education, you see opportunities out there, you have met somebody that, you create relationships as you go through your career, and then how do you go to having a company? So let's start from my beginning. So I was born in Boston. My dad was getting his PhD at MIT. So I was born there. Then they went back to Colombia. So I was raised in Colombia. Both of my parents were civil engineers. Well, my mom, still alive, is civil engineer. I went to a very good private school, had good education. Since my parents were engineers, for me, it was just a logical path. I like math, I'm going to engineering. So I enrolled in the Colombian School of Engineering, and then I got my bachelor's in civil engineering. I was the valedictorian of my class. And then I graduated and started working in structural engineering. So I was designing concrete structures and steel structures, and I did some transmission lines, the towers. And then, I started thinking, where do I want to go next? So I wanted to get my master's. So I started looking for colleges, where do I go? And I wanted to go outside of Colombia to get that global experience, to learn from the US. So I came back to the US. I applied to different colleges, one of them, Georgia Tech. So it took me a while to go through the application process. Everything is easier now, but back then, doing things from Colombia, I had to do all the tests. Back there, you have to schedule at a certain day and time to take the test. Then send the documents by mail and then wait to get a response. So it took me, I don't remember, but over a year to apply. And then, so I started at Georgia Tech. I enrolled to the master's in structural engineering. So I was completing that. And then towards the end, it was 1 year. So I was ready to go back home and see, okay, where do I want to work? What do I do with this new degree I have? And my mom was the one that said, no, stay there, study more. Back there, at that time, Colombia was going through a recession. There was not much work. So I figured, well, I'm already at Georgia Tech, so I'll do a dual degree. So I went to the School of Management, and I continued my education and got it was the Master's in Management, which is now the MBA. Because I figure, you have the technical skills, eventually I will need the management skills as well, so I'll get them now. While I was in the School of Management, I had the opportunity to do an internship. And that was the first time I was working in the US for a company and getting that real life experience. So for me, it was great. You have experience, and I encourage everyone to do the internship. You will learn that you love that thing you did during the internship, or you will realize I don't really like that, but either way is a good experience to get that real life experience. Then I worked, I graduated, worked for several years. And then, I had my education done, so I got married, I had a baby, and I started a business all within 3 years. So looking back, it was like a normal process, but it is crazy busy when you do those 3 things at once, and I'll share with you my experiences, why I say that. So I had my first daughter, she was born when the company started, she was 6 months old. So, and I was working somewhere else. So I had a full-time job, I had my baby, and I had a starting business that I had to juggle all those things. Now, when you say, okay, I started a business, what do I do next? So it always starts with the idea. What is what you want to do? Is it a product or a service you are offering? Then around that, you need to organize all the framework of the company, all the legal documents. You have to incorporate it, you have to register it, you have to have the certifications that are needed for that service you are offering. You need the attorneys, you need to understand contracts, you need the CPAs to do the accounting. So there is a lot of other things, non-technical, that you will have to do that, back then I did learn it a little bit on my MBA, but then when you have to do it is when you really need to learn. Then you organize your process for that product or service you're selling. You assemble your team. Maybe you have a partner. Maybe you're by yourself, so you hire people that can complement what you do, because it's hard to know everything. So you need to surround yourself with people that can help you in your vision of what you want to do. And you need money. Creating a company is very easy and doesn't cost money, but start running a company, you need money. So I remember when we got our first contract, it was a construction contract. It was low bid, so we got the award. Hey, I have a contract. We were a subcontractor to somebody else. So I went to the bank and I said, hey, I have a contract. would you lend me money? I need working capital. And I remember the person at the bank said, well, you don't have history and we don't know how you will perform. So when you finish that contract, come back and I'll give you money. And I was so confused, like, why do you want me to wait until I finish the contract if I need the money to start that project? So that was a first lesson. You need money to make money. So at that time, we went to friends and family. Pretty much they lend us the money we needed. We use credit cards, and we use our home as a bank. We got a line of credit against our home, so we could get that working capital, so we could do that first project. So when we finished the project, I could go to the bank and say, hey, now I need a loan. And that's what we had to do. Now, this cycle, I would say, is not unique to starting a company. It may be to go to a new market. It may be you do a joint venture and you partner with somebody. So you always have to go through, it's a continuous process. You're looking for that new market, you have that idea, you need to get all your certifications ready, your process, find the money to fund that new thing, and get your team. So this happens every day, all the time. You're always looking for that next thing you're going to do, how you will be growing your business, and you repeat that cycle. I like this image because it's, for me, you are always juggling many balls in the air, and you need to make sure all of them are taken care of. So you have your family on one side. I have had a very supportive husband, and he's also my partner in the business. My brothers, they have worked in the business. My mom at some time worked in the business. And my kids, I didn't want them to be in the business when they were growing up, but I still needed to reserve the time for them as they were growing and go to their ballet recital and go to the music recitals and soccer games. So need to reserve time for your family. Then the work piece, I think that's the one that we tend to focus more. You still have deadlines to meet, long hours doing the business. Usually the business owner works longer than anybody else, late at night or weekends. So my mind is always working, thinking of something that we can do or improve. Then on the community side, it's your friends. You don't want to isolate and then don't participate with your communities or your friends. Maybe it's your church, maybe it's industry associations where you meet other people like you or with your same interests. So you have to reserve time for that as well. And then the self-care portion that is so important. So you as the business owner have to take care of yourself, right? You're taking care of many other people, the employees, your family, but your health is very important. Take time to take vacation and relax. Because there is a point that if you're, working all the time, you will crash. You get mentally exhausted. So the self-care is very important. Now, once the business is in place and you start growing the business, I put here some important aspects. They are not in any specific order. But having a business is hard work. Many people say, oh, I love that you're self-employed. You can do anything you want. Well, it's a lot of work to have your own business. You have to take risks. And the decisions you make will affect other people, your employees. So it's a managed risk, but still you have to take risk. We talked about the need for capital, and that never stops. Because once you start, let's say you are going to a new market, well, you need more money to go to that market. Or you are doing a larger project, well, now you need to finance that larger project. So it's a continuous effort to get working capital, and you need to watch closely your cash flow because you don't want to get in trouble. Then you cannot pay your employees or your suppliers because you overextended yourself. You have to wear many hats. Especially at the beginning, you are doing many functions. So you may be running the project, you are doing the accounting, you are cutting the checks for the suppliers, you are hiring people, you are doing the HR function. So it's you need to be prepared to wear all these hats, and again, you're juggling all these functions as you go through your day and your week and your month. Have to be resourceful and patient. I put the two together. Sometimes things don't go your way. Something fails, and but I always think of you have a plan A and a plan B. If that doesn't work, you do a plan C. So be flexible and adjust to things as they happen. Always do the planning, but then be willing to adjust and be patient to get the result you want. And if something doesn't happen the first time, then adjust and go back and try it the second time. Have to trust others. You have to build a team. You have to delegate, because very difficult to do everything by yourself. So always have that attitude that you don't know everything, and then you need to trust others to help you with your dream, or to achieve that goal that you set. Be willing to fail again. When something goes wrong, just figure out how to fix it and move on. And I think that's the engineering problem solving in action. And it's for everything. Something doesn't go one way, what can we do to with this way or that way? And probably the innovation piece also goes in there. What can we do to make this faster or better? Or can we use other materials that would help us achieve what we need? Would stand up for what you believe is right? Sometimes people want to help you get where you want to go, but not everyone is vested in your success. Sometimes your competition doesn't want you to get that contract or to succeed because you are competing with them. So understand that, yes, you can trust those around you to help you move forward, but then not everybody might be aligned with your goals and what you want to do. Love your work. You're juggling all these pieces, you are working long hours, so you better like what you're doing, right? Because you're spending your life doing that. So if you don't like it, find something else. And entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Not everyone needs to be a business owner. I think I was looking at the statistic outside the room. It said 1 in 10 Georgia Tech graduates go to be CEOs or presidents. So that's 10%. So we still need all the engineering power, in this room, all the graduates, to have businesses grow, be better, the innovative, part. So not everyone has to be a business owner. But if you are, then, it's very rewarding, but it is hard work. So once you get your degree, you may think, okay, I'm done, went to school, that's it. Well, that's not true. You need to keep learning. So as you start your career, you are, I am always looking for something else I can learn. So continuing education classes, something that interests you. You find that the topic you like, you can find many classes available for that. If it's on business, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they have tons of programs. And when I started the company, and I didn't know how to run a business, and I didn't have someone to ask them the questions, so I took many classes with the SBA, and I just learned what I didn't know. Industry-related seminars. We go to the World of Concrete every year. We go to see what's new on materials, on software, on equipment, and they also have classes. So it keeps us on top of what the industry is doing. So always keep learning. Join industry associations. So there are associations for everything, right? So like I like the associations. There are some in construction. There are some for highway construction. There are some for women in business. There are some for Hispanic business owners. So there are associations of many types. So you just have to find the one where you see interest, you can learn from others in business. Somebody that already did what you're trying to do, or maybe you find a partner for a new project. Then in my case, after I got my degrees, started the business. So back in 2010, so 12 years ago, I'm like, that was the recession. So I said, well, business is slow, so maybe it's time to get another degree. I think I want to learn more on finance. I need it in my business. I want to learn more. So I went back to graduate school and I got my master's in finance. At the time, after I started, it's like, oh my God, what did I do? This is hard. Because after you are out of school for a while and then you go back to school, it's hard. Being a student is hard. But then being a student while having the business and the kids, and it was very difficult, but it was something that I wanted to learn and I enjoyed it. And then recently, I took a certificate in mergers and acquisitions. So I just wanted to learn how companies, they buy and sell companies. So a way to grow your business is go and acquire a company. or maybe an exit strategy is you sell your company. So I just wanted to learn what is all about mergers and acquisitions. So I went back to, that was a certificate, so it was not as intense as a master's, but it was a good way to learn a new topic. Now I try to put here, why do I think P2K is special? Okay, of course it's special to me because it's like my baby. I had it for 25 years, but I think it has prospered in a very difficult and closed industry. I think engineering in general is diverse and is very open to right in thinking and in race, being Hispanic, and in engineering, like throughout my education, I felt at home. It's like, okay, I know this. But then in construction is typically a male-dominated industry. And, it's being a woman in construction and a Latina, it is hard. You don't see many people like yourself, and you are trying to show you deserve to be there. So it's a difficult industry. I think we have been a role model for other small and minority companies. The perception when we started was that you're a Hispanic company, small company, you are not as professional as these other companies, or you are not as good, or you don't have the equipment that it takes to do this. So to break that perception that, yes, I'm Hispanic, I'm a Latina, and I have a good business, there is no relationship with being a minority company versus being the small and maybe not so professional company. So I think we have been raising the bar for minority-owned companies because we have shown that you can be a minority company and still, we compete with some large companies, and we do it well, and we are a professional company. We have a great team of professionals in construction. So we hire the best people so we can produce our best result. Many of, or the majority of our project managers, they are civil engineers, and many have gone through Georgia Tech. So we hire smart people like all of you. And then we have been paying it forward to others. I was helped at some point in time during my career, so I want to help others to make it easier, or so they can go through their career. So we have many years ago, 15 years ago, we started an internship program. And this one was for civil engineers from Colombia, from the school where we got our undergrad, to come to Atlanta to our company and work and see how do you build in the US? How is it different from what they learned in Colombia? So it has been a very successful internship. So students come and go. So very open-minded. They come here, they learn everything they see. Then we started the scholarships and fellowships. So in the School of Civil Engineering, so there are more women in engineering and more Hispanics in engineering. And in the School of Building Construction as well. Now we have been in business 25 years, and we want to be here for many more. So another 25 or 50 years. Now, you are the talent of the future. You know, Georgia Tech is a great school. You are getting wonderful skills that you'll be applying in your future, and you will be changing the world. You know, what you learn today, those skills you'll be applying in many years. And, you know, the education you're getting here, you know, it is top. My coming to Georgia Tech, I think it changed my life. Probably if I had not been to Tech, I would not have stayed in Atlanta or started a business. So, you know, it's hard to do the what if, but I think it did change my life. And that's why I support education as a leveling factor for minorities. I think the more education you have, more successful you will be. So that's my story. Again, it's unique to me. I'm not sure if I had gone back, probably I would be changing things, because then I would know, okay, I don't need to do this, I have to change this. But you know, it can be done. You know, you can have a business and have a family and be successful. So I think at this point, just open it up for questions, things that you would like to know.
Thank you so much for coming here to speak today. I especially enjoyed how you talked about some of the non-technical knowledge that you need to know about in order to found a business, such as accounting and legal knowledge of contracts and things like that. So at this time, we're going to open the floor up to questions. If you have any, please raise your hand and I'll come over to you to call you out. If you could just stand up so that the mics on the ceiling can pick you up, we would really appreciate that, especially so those attending online will be able to hear you. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. Yes.
Just how many hours a day were you working during like the worst periods?
After my daughter was born and we created the company, I had a full-time job. So I was working full-time job. I would bring the baby to daycare in the morning, pick her up in the afternoon, and then I would go home and I would start my other job, you know, in the business. So I was doing all the accounting and what I could do in the computer. Of course, I was not in the field because I didn't have time. So my husband was the one in the field and I was doing all the back office. It felt like I was working 24/7. You know, it was a continuous job. And, you know, I kept my two jobs for, I think, about 3 years. So I was doing the two things, then the company was growing. So initially it was from home. So it was easier to stay late and do some work. And back then the virtual connection, you know, it was non-existent. So we were at home and I was working in my one computer. And then we purchased a place for the office. And I remember my husband, Carlos, he was all excited. Oh, we have a new place for the business. When do we move? And I was initially reluctant. It's like, okay, if I move, how do I do my work if I'm working somewhere else? And I think that was the trigger that made me decide, you know, I cannot keep doing two jobs at once, because then we had the office, so I could what I could do at night was limited, but then I was working on weekends. So I was working 24/7. That's my response until, I had to quit my full-time job and then move to just focus on the business.
Yes.
So when you had a job, what triggered you exactly to get into your own business? So are there some factors that led you to having your own business apart from a job?
So when we decided to start the company, we saw opportunities in construction at the Atlanta airport. Carlos was working at the airport as an employee, and one of the general contractors one day told him, hey, if you start your company and you're ready, I'll give you work, but you have to be ready. So that was that idea. Okay, let's start a business. So initially it was all that paperwork to get it up and running. And then, so he started bidding on work with that prime contractor. And one day he came home and, hey, we have our first job. The prime contractor whom I gave a prize for, a scope of work, he got the award, but now we need to get ready to do the work. So at that time, again, was more on the organizational side. So I had to find the insurance and I had to find the working capital and the accounting. So I had to bring an accountant to tell me how to set up the software so I could do the accounting, pretty much explain to me what I need to do. And we needed bonding for the project. And as we started, I was doing the administrative work so I could have my full-time job and then do that. So I remember at the beginning, I would control we had some trucks that were bringing material to the site. So with my engineering hat, I'm like, hey, I can have a database and I can keep track of the times when the trucks dump the material and how long it takes them to come back. And so I did a database that for me was very normal, right? I put a database and I would enter all the tickets from the trucks. And then we were tracking, the cycle time of the truck. And I remember Carlos showed that to one of the drivers. I'm like, hey, your time is lower than this other truck, and why are you taking longer? And they were like, well, how do you know? Well, we have this tracking and, we are measuring every route. So they were puzzled of, why are you doing that? It's just dump trucks. But, for me, it was just normal to do that analysis. So that's how I was able to keep 2 jobs, but then, when it was obviously too much and we had more employees, so that's when I decided, I have to give up my full-time job that was giving me a paycheck and just jump into the business where, I had to create my own paycheck.
Yes. So on the slides, you mentioned that after graduate school, you work several years and then start your business. And in my understanding, getting an advanced degree, starting a business can serve as a means. But what is the end for opening a business, and also how you leverage those advanced degrees to serve for your end goal?
Well, I think it's important to have experience in what you're trying to do. In my case, it was construction. And while I didn't have experience in the actual construction, my partner, Carlos, he had previous experience in construction, and I was bringing all the administrative of the analytical hat of the management of the resources, the people, the financing. So I think having the experience is important, but sometimes if it's on the innovation side, if you have a great idea, something that doesn't exist, now, of course, you cannot go back and get experience on something that is new. So in that case, I think you will jump from, do your research, go to grad school, and then if you have a great idea for a product or service, then you jump into to start your business. And here at Tech, you have great resources that you should utilize. So you have the Create X, that is that path for innovation, and companies would be funding your idea. So you get that money piece so you can start the business faster. And you have the entrepreneurial classes. So if you're thinking about starting a company, then you can take classes on entrepreneurship. So you have more tools for when you do.
Yes. So I'm just curious, kind of, how did you figure out all the stuff you needed to learn in order to start your company and just to get off the ground? Were there connections or mentors or something like that that helped you on that?
I just did it day by day. When I came to the US, I came with the goal of going to Georgia Tech and getting a degree. So that was my one goal. I came here to Atlanta 1 week before classes started, and I didn't know anybody. I was referred to 2 students that were already at Tech, and they were my first connection, and I started building relationship, around them, and then I would meet, other students and where they came from and the professors. So as I went along my journey, I would develop relationships or figure out, if I need to learn something, find those classes or seminars or that I needed to supplement or complement my education. And sometimes, if I cannot know everything, so find that person that knows what you're missing. So you should always surround yourself with people that complement you, so you don't have to know everything.
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you describe more about your leadership style, how you lead people, and how you organize your business?
I think my leadership style is more by doing things. I tend to, or I like to explain things first, what I want to get done, and give the freedom to the person to do it, to repeat it. And to be a leader by showing others, if I have done it, you can do it, and provide tools to do that. Many years ago, we started the Georgia Hispanic Construction Association. Why did that happen? Well, because we saw that Hispanic businesses didn't have that community around them that would help them with their needs. So by doing that, I was helping other businesses grow and be better and have the tools that they need to be successful based on what I have done. So if they see somebody did it, and they sometimes ask me questions, so based on that, they can replicate and they can grow and they can be better.
Any other questions? Yes.
There's actually a part 2 of my question. So after graduate school, you got all those resources and starting your businesses. And you also mentioned that you help the getting minority also into the industry and also help out other small businesses. So I'm wondering, is there any like, what's the biggest mission you have in terms of, you have a Precision 2000, and in terms of like, what's the end you plan to do with the company? Yeah.
Well, for me, there is not an end, it's always evolving. So your goals are moving, right? So if when we were smaller, we were in one market, we were looking, okay, what else can we do? Okay, let's go to this other market. If we were doing already certain type of jobs, okay, what do we need to do this other type of job? Or can we partner with somebody? If in our case, like, we don't do buildings, we do flat work, infrastructure. Well, can we partner with a company that does building, and then we can do a project with a larger scope? I think what I would like to see is that the company grows. So we're not, because at this point we're not small and we're not large, we're a medium-sized company. But to be a company that 25, 50 years from now is there, and it's serving maybe the whole US, and it's has helped other smaller companies to grow. So we grow with others, right? Later on, I don't know if a family member would like to step in and continue, or we may do a employee-owned company where we sell it back to the employees. So this time still don't know, but we want to continue growing and be better each day.
All right, thank you all, everybody, so much for your questions. I actually have one more question of my own, if you don't mind, before we go ahead and conclude the lecture. You mentioned that one aspect of growing a business is being able to be willing to fail, and then also to be able to recover from failure. So I was wondering if you could talk about like the greatest failure of PTK or greatest challenge that you faced and how you ended up recovering from that.
I think we have failed many times, right? But since I don't see that as a point as you fail and what do I do, for me, it's just continuous. You fail here, you start again. Like many years back, we wanted to get into a new market, was decorative concrete, the concrete that, you add colors and patterns. And we figured that product was better for the residential market, but we had been in commercial. So we got the certifications, we got the training, we started training employees and looking for work in that market. At the end, it didn't work out on the residential market, but we ended up bringing that product to the commercial projects that we had. So remember, the city of Atlanta was one of the first ones to take our stamped concrete instead of pavers. So like, oh, it looks like a paver, but it is a stamped concrete. The way we like that. So we, yes, we failed because we didn't start that other market, but we introduced a new product to what we were already doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today. I know that as a woman of color myself, your story really inspires me, and I'm sure that goes for everybody in this room, regardless of their background. So please, on behalf of the Georgia Tech School of Civil and Environmental Engineering, accept this token of our appreciation.
Thank you so much.